Hi, Mark here. A lot of people have done some 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons reviews online, so I thought that I would take the opportunity to do my own and put it out there and just see what, good it could do. I've attempted to espouse my views over on the Wizards of the Coast forums, but free speech is not allowed there, even if you're not insulting anyone or cussing, despite that being their only major guidelines. I still get all my forum posts banned or locked away because in general I don't give a very shining review to 4th edition, but here it goes, and we'll see what people think. My first complaint with 4th edition in my review is that by my notes here, I wrote down some dates, and what we have is that 1st edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons came out in 1977. 12 years later they gave us 2nd edition in 1989, and then Wizards of the Coast acquired the company and put out 3rd edition in 2000. So we have a 12-year gap between editions, followed by an 11-year gap between editions, and only then, because the company sold. So then we have, in 8 years between 2000 and 2008, Wizards of the Coast produces 3rd edition, 3.5, and 4th edition. That's 3 editions in 8 years' time, meaning you have to rebuy players' handbooks, monster manuals, all of this. It is a horrible way to rake in money from people that want to stay current on their editions. They are produced way too fast, like an assembly line. I am not okay with that, and that is the first strike with them. The second strike would be this. This is Riff's core rulebook. It has a $33.95 price tag. Has 376 pages. This is Demon the Fallen by White Wolf. It has a $29.95 price tag. And it has 303 pages. This is Martial Power from 4th edition. It has a $30 price tag, $29.95. And it only has 159 pages. White Wolf is charging just as, Wizards of the Coast is charging just as much or more than any other company for their books, and they're a lot thinner, a lot less content. That's not good either. So then on to the actual game itself. The biggest problem with the game is, first off, that there is no randomness or diversity to character generation. They don't want you to roll your stats. It's presented as the 3rd and least favorable option, and it is not considered official to roll your stats. It says you cannot use you cannot have an RPGA character that is rolled. They just want you to distribute points. So then there's that. You do not roll hit points at any stage. It is a set number that you are given. You do not roll starting gold. You do not roll height. You do not roll weight. And I can live without those two. But in essence, there is nothing during character generation that requires a roll. And then the next problem would be that things that they promised that the game would be, it's not. They promised a faster combat system. However, everything but minions, even kobolds, have close to 30 hit points. Some boss monsters that can be fought as early as 4th level have a couple hundred hit points. Fights take forever. I know that because I've tried running the game, and my party all agreed it's the slowest, longest combats of any edition. And we've been playing for 16 years, some of us, and so we've been around the track, and this just takes the cake on that. Another problem is that wizards no longer feel special You know, used to be you were very frail, but you had your you know, you had your mighty magic. Now everybody is numbingly equal. Everybody gets powers. No one just attacks. Fighters don't just get to attack anymore. They have like all these different flash and whistles moves that, you know, someone that just wants to play a simple character and not get really in depth with things, they can't do it anymore. You have to learn a bunch of powers, and some people just can't hack that. But that's like the only complex thing due to the nature of how little variety you have to worry about in the actual characters. It's basically like a D&D for dummies. It might as well be a yellow book with a guy holding a sign on it that says D&D for dummies, because not insulting the intelligence of anybody that plays it, but the game is tailored so that, you know, people that have very short attention spans or don't want to do very much reading don't really have to, because everything's always the same. There's not a lot of randomness. There's not much different from your fighter to my fighter. Don't matter what. And the other thing, like they said that they would take out things like animal companions because it slowed things down and wasn't very fair to the people that didn't have them. And then one of the first supplements, martial powers, that I showed you earlier, they stuck them right back in the game. So there is that. And basically the whole thing tries to be like a World of Warcraft tabletop. Everybody's divided into the same roles they are in World of Warcraft. You have tanks in World of Warcraft, and this you have defenders filled by the same classes. DPS become strikers. Healers become leaders, which heal, but they're called leaders. And then crowd control, which was mages online, is now controller, which is wizards. They don't even make an attempt to use a different title, pretty much. And it's the same way, you know, if you were a rogue, maybe you'd spam your death strike or your sinister strike and then into eviscerate or whatever it might have been called, execute, what have you. And now you spam death strike at will, and then you do your encounter power once during the fight, and there you go. It's pretty much every attempt at being World of Warcraft. I mean, heck, there's a Beast Ranger build now in martial power, which might as well scream, here's our version of World of Warcraft Hunter. I mean, the fact that they put Warlock in Dungeons & Dragons as a regular class, you know, what's that try to show you? You know, because it's a standard class in World of Warcraft, and they're trying to cover that base. So that's some of the problems with the overall design, and it's very disappointing. I'll continue on in the second part of this, because the first video I made, I didn't realize that YouTube does not split videos for you, and it went 16 minutes and I couldn't get it all on and it was rejected, and so now I'm having to do this whole review over. It's too bad. I really like my first review better, but I'll finish up in part 2.